Today marks a very important day for this channel and me in general as a creator. This is the first time ever I've ever had to do this, and I hope I never have to do it again. I'm going to have to remake this entire video after fully completing it already. Why? The fucking BBC. If you follow my Instagram, you would know that I had completed this review ages ago, like on the 10th of February. But because of the BBC's bullshit rules on series 11 and 12, I've had to entirely redo it, because they just kept blocking it. With Spyfall Part 1, they were like, okay, 12 seconds of footage, that's fine without being blocked. But then for this one, I uploaded it just using 10 seconds, and they were like, no, not having it. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll trim all the shots down so it's like less than 10 seconds. Less than 12 seconds, sorry. And now it was less than 12 seconds, they're like, no, it has to be less than 10 seconds. And I'm sitting there like, fine, whatever, it's bullshit, but I'll go at your rules because I really enjoyed this video. And then they're like, actually it has to be 9 seconds. And then I'm sitting there like, oh my fucking god, kill me. Because the video started off as like 13 minutes long, but I cut out that much. It was like under 11, and I was fucking livid. And after I finally did that, they're like, okay, no, 8 seconds. 8 seconds. If you use more than 8 seconds, we are copyrighting that shit instantly and blocking it. And I was like, oh my fucking god, I am sick of this bullshit. So I filed a dispute. They get back to me at the 12th of March, ridiculously long time for them to just say fucking no anyway. And because I actually really want to review Series 12, because it's fucking finished, I have to redo this video entirely. I don't know if this is going to be better than the original one, because I really enjoyed that, like, my delivery was fucking on point throughout that whole thing. But you're gonna have to expect a lot more cuts, and the reviews are gonna take a lot more time, considering the safest way to do this is to cut every 5 seconds. So reviewing Series 12, and probably 11, is gonna take fucking years now. But anyway, all that whinging aside, let's start this shit.
Laser screwdriver. Who'd have Sonic? And the good thing is, he's not dead for long. I get to kill him again!
Part 2 begins with the Doctor waffling on for a bunch of time before she bumps into Ada Lovelace, one of history's MVPs in early computer programming. Something weird I thought they did for this two-part was having both parts have different directors, making them a lot more unique, as Part 2 has a lot more close-ups that weren't seen in the first part. Suddenly, the two characters are yeeted into 1834 in a gallery of technology, which was surprising and interesting. The actors used for this convention are expressive enough to give it a cheesy carnival-like feel, like that episode of Torchwood from Out of the Rain. Unfortunately, the Doctor is the only one to not live up to these set expectations despite having the strangest appearance in the room. Continuing on an annoying path, the Master bursts in and upstages the Doctor instantly when he decides to shrink people for some reason, I don't know why. And this angry shouting Master is just so bad, and the whole scene just gets derailed because of his poor entrance.
Can I hear you, love?
Master.
Friendly reminder that some people are genuinely arguing this is the best Master a day. Fuck off! This Master is a lot like Jodie in the sense that she's trying her best to be Tennant because he's the safest Doctor a copy, and Satya is trying his best to be Sim because he's the safest Master a copy. Meanwhile, in Back to the Future, the companions get rescued by the Doctor from the future, where they end up back in the UK spying on Barton. This scene just looks so shit though, because they are incredibly close to Barton, basically shouting at each other, but he doesn't even hear them. The phone scene was really shit as well. What, so everyone could just suddenly see them? To escape from the people, the fan decide to hide in an unfinished house, and Graham is just able to break the padlock. Kinda just ignored. And then they just sit there and talk about nothing. So this is just even more filler. And this scene just shows the wasted potential of Graham. We could have explored Graham's loneliness, make him much more of an interesting companion, instead of just the funny, quirky old man. Don't get me wrong, Graham is the least offensive person in the TARDIS currently, but that doesn't mean he's good. This is showed the best when he uses the laser shoes. I honestly thought he was taking the piss in Part 1 when he said that. But admittedly, it is hilarious seeing him tap around like a numpty. But it's the only purpose he serves in these episodes, is just to shoot things and intimidate people for comedy. Back to the Doctor, she's in World War II now, and I'm just gonna say it, the time hopping thing was actually really fun, and it was a nice contrast to Part 1. I thought it was also unintentionally hilarious having the Master dressed up as a Nazi, as not only does he stick out like a sore thumb, he looks ridiculous. And let's just ignore the fact that he got shot and blew up in the previous scene. Anyone else getting Rise of Skywalker vibes? Just me? Hope so. That film was fucking awful, wasn't it? Then we get this really bad scene where Barton kills his mother. This is quite the diversion from the story, and yet I'm still curious. Because this could have been really interesting. It's a quite unique position. This bitter child growing up knowing that his own mother would never be happy with him. It's the only real bit of development Barton gets. I reckon if they didn't force the Master in this story, Barton would have been a much better villain. Later on, the fam find the mother's corpse, which just kind of ruined the whole scenario, and the fam state the obvious again. Back in World War II, the Doctor and this bitch are hidden under the floorboards, and this scene is just bizarre. After the floorboards get shot up, the Master doesn't even check to see if the Doctor's dead. What was even the point? It's an absolute miracle neither of them got shot. Then the Doctor explains to the dumb audience who know Khan is. It's so obvious they just need the excuse to have the first 3 females something in a room at the same time. But what purpose does this actually serve overall? They're pretty useless to the plot. This detour feels so disconnected from the whole point of the Doctor being dragged onto this adventure anyway. The only interesting part of the scene was when Ada saw Paris burning down, but this still felt underwhelming, especially when you think of an episode like Vincent and the Doctor. Don't get me wrong, I still think this story is very, very overrated, but it's undeniable that that episode did a much better job of the exact opposite thing. Also, the acting is much better there. And then, the farm! Mope around in a countryside. No, not this countryside, because that would actually be interesting. Just some random countryside. Where they slept is another one of those details that is just completely ignored. And not to mention, but this scene is just so bad. Nothing wrong with the laser shoes, they are fucking hilarious. But this basically means the only example of Vor's power is that they can materialize random people in random locations. But it was all part of the farm's plan anyway? That doesn't excuse this awful script. This RTD era pandering is painful. I know Sacha's just a poor rip-off of Sim, but don't bring down this man's legacy with the likes of you, the worst on-screen Master in all of New Who. And then, by means that aren't explained, the Doctor and the Master are just suddenly on top of the Eiffel Tower! There's just so much wrong with this! The most stunning thing of all is that the Doctor has just left Ada, someone who's out of their time period, on their own! In a house that literally just got shot up. I thought this useless tag-along could have at least upped the stakes, but nope! And as for the conversation with these two, fuck me. He explains away that he was able to become a Nazi with somebody learned in school. Go figures. And this scene just felt like it went on and on and on because of the awful editing between the past and the present that goes on throughout. Even with all the answers laid out, I still don't know what the Master's plan was. Was he just trying to get the Doctor to listen? Just to tease the idea that the Time Lords aren't good? For fuck's sake! This Master has now disrespected the best Master by shamelessly ripping him off, disrespects Missy's entire arc by his mere existence, and now he's disrespected the best story ever conceived. Holy fucking shit! I'm so done! This was over 10 years ago! Rassilon, played by Timothy Dalton, who ironically played James Bond, was practically a villain in that story. So it just feels like what I just spent almost 3/4 of an hour watching was a complete waste of time. Because Gallifrey is gone. Again! But I'm gonna stop complaining now and show you the funniest scene in this entire show.
Finish what you were saying!
What have you done?
When I saw this, I laughed and then immediately cried because it just shows Sacha doesn't know what he's doing. Let's just compare some scenes. Here is the best Master assaulting someone.
Isomorphic controls. Which means they only work for me.
Here's Missy doing the exact same thing. Fucking hell, here's even some classic Who, just to play it different for once.
Now at last, I have the power to destroy you.
Now here's Sacha. This scene is so laughably bad, it's embarrassing. My immersion broke further when I saw the awfully CGI TARDIS shack in the middle of Paris. Back in the present day, Barton makes a speech somewhere and the lighting in the scene is just so bad. And yes, data collection is a modern day issue, but it's so obviously just a technology bad moment. It just comes off as dull. Sending a text to all of humanity, you're taking the piss, right? Who would honestly take that threat seriously? The most annoying thing of all is that Lenny Henry's performance isn't actually bad. The script's fucking him over. In his Doctor Who sketch from the 80s, he's literally making fun of this show for taking itself too seriously, and now he's given an ultra serious speech. I'm wondering whether I should even make this show serious. I meant to say take, but let's roll with it. Then everyone starts getting upgraded and my laughter just arrived again. Just look at this! The Master then turns up out of nowhere, claiming he just survived the 20th century just to yell at them. Quick note, this isn't in the script, but I know there's now a book explaining what he did in the 20th century, but still, that's not good enough. Again, the journey's just irrelevant. He just needs to be at the right place at the right time so the Doctor can blabber on at him about how smart she is. We get more elaborate plan bollocks explaining from the Master, and it's all reversed in seconds. Because the Doctor had the Master's TARDIS. Annoyingly as well, they don't show the women coming out the TARDIS, so it just looks like they came from the fucking heavens or something. And it just looks like they ran back into nowhere just to resolve the plane plot hole. Honestly, the whole plan doesn't even make sense, and it's not worth my time or your time explaining why it's retarded. So let's just skip to the next scene, which is a montage of the Doctor solving the whole plane problem, which was a surprise to see. As knowing 13's love for blabbering on, I thought she'd just explain it away. But there's no challenge here, as everything the Doctor needs is just in the TARDIS. She then wipes the minds of her new friends, and Nose wasn't bad. She said good luck in French and it was a nice little scene. However, with Ada, the Doctor just goes on about this whole bunch of nothing before leaving and kissing her like a freak. Then she goes to Gallifrey to see what the Master was talking about. I'm gonna ignore the fact that Gallifrey was saved and supposed to be lost. And it took 4.5 billion years just to get there. But the scene itself is a great display of visual effects, and the TARDIS arriving on Gallifrey and the shot of destruction. And the close-up of Jodie's face, all of it was fantastic. And, oh my god, we actually have a good scene between the Doctor and the Master. Haven't seen one of these in fucking years. And the Timeless Children thing could be really interesting. I hope it isn't just forgotten again. That was in the old script that was written on the 7th of February. The finale is out now and I fucking despise it. So, in conclusion, is Spyfall Part 2 as good as I remember it? Dear God, no! Don't get me wrong, there's some great moments in this, and Graham was great as usual. The time hopping was kind of fun if you switch your brain off. And that ending was just fucking fantastic. But the rest of it sucks! There's just so many scenes in this story that are just bad, and the new Master is terrible! When going into this review, I was still pretty mixed on him, but I was more so on the bad side, but now I can't stand him. And now that I'm redoing this after the finale, he doesn't improve either. He's shit! This episode is honestly just bad, and it's just not as fun in a rewatch. But it's nowhere near as bad as what came next week.
Don't forget to click below and subscribe to the official TARDIS Team YouTube channel.